trying to find where the music is on my screen and I can't find it. There it is. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Hi. Let's talk about your grade, shall we? So the grade in this class is based on you completing the course. So let me tell you a story. Back when I was, high school, freshman year of high school, I was in a bunch of remedial classes. And because I have a really hard, well, I had a really hard time taking tests. I have probably attention deficit disorder. I probably have dyslexia. I definitely had a bad case of I suck at school. And then I had this Mr. Carey. His name was Steve Carey. He was a very cool guy. He wore like a little leather vest and flannel shirts. I remember that. His hair was always slicked back and he had the creepy cop mustache. And he looks at me and he goes, "Why are you in this class?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, we're reading a book and I finished the book the first week that it was assigned. And we were supposed to be reading this book all semester. And I like just read it over the weekend because it was interesting. And I was reading a lot of other books at the time, and I could answer any question he asked about it because I found the book interesting, and so I was interested. He goes, "You need to get out of these classes and get into classes that are going to challenge you." And I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because if you don't, you're going to settle." I'm like, "Ooh, deep." So fast forward, my first year at San Diego State. Oh, by the way, I did really well in high school. Ended up with a 3.8 back then. That was really awesome. I ended up taking AP Physics, and I got a straight A in AP Physics. I didn't bother to take the AP test because it cost money, and we didn't have any. Actually, it turns out I found out later in life that we actually did have plenty of money, but my parents were extremely cheap. Oh well. But moving on. So I got to San Diego State, and my first semester I had religious studies, I had German, I had 2 music classes because I wanted to be a music major. And the religious studies class was read, listen to lecture, take a test. Dr. Gefter, probably dead now. Sorry, Mr. Gefter. Dr. Gefter. But I went and talked to him in his office. I got a D on the first exam. I'm like, how do you do this? He goes, "Welcome to college. You have to figure it out." And I got a freaking D in that class. Well, I kind of like started to figure it out. And by the time I got to my last year at San Diego State, my senior year, I was taking a class in research methods, and I had a really bad day. A friend of mine got hit by a car on his bicycle and was in the hospital. And when we sat down to I had a test the next morning, of course, friends aren't considerate about getting hurt, after a test. Anyway, but he was fine. It took about 6 months for him to get his self back together again, but he turned out okay. But during the test, I missed a page. I just skipped a page. And I got the test back, and the professor is like, "Okay, so," he goes, "You missed a page." I'm like, "Oh, can I make it up?" And he goes, "Well, other people have already gotten their tests back." And I said, "Well, just ask me the questions and I'll answer them in front of a class. Like, I haven't talked to anybody." And so he made me stand up in front of the class, and he made me answer all the questions in front of class, and I just nailed every single one of them. I knew everything anyway. It was a research methods course. Most people in the class got D's and F's on that test because it was hard, but because, I don't know why, I really like research methods. I don't know why, because it's what I do now, but that's not important. But he goes, "Okay, you understand this stuff." So that kind of got me thinking. I met with Bree Brown, who is a wonderful, awesome English instructor, and she talked about this thing called ungrading. Well, back years ago, UC Santa Cruz used to use this method, where they basically would assess whether you know the material or not. So this is what we're doing. Dr. Salazar is along with me on this, and a couple other faculty members that I know are in on this. What we do is we assess whether you're learning things by the work that you turn in. So there are 20, 25 little assignments throughout this entire course. And your job is to go through the material. And your job is to try to learn as much of the material as you can. I'm going to help you along the way. My job as your teacher is to teach you materials. My job is to reinforce you for learning things. I'm not going to punish you. If you haven't figured something out yet, I will help you figure it out. If you don't do something, I can't help you. So your grade in this class is based on your completion of the work. Yes, your completion of the work. And so as we go through, I'm going to be asking some specific things and asking for you to do specific things. And one of the most important things for all of my classes, I'm going to be asking you to ask questions. Artificial intelligence is as good as it is, but unless you know how to ask good questions, you're going to get crappy answers. Having information allows you to ask better questions. When students just take prompts and dump them into AI and copy and paste the responses, that is, okay, great, good job, you filled in the blank, but to me, that doesn't demonstrate that you're learning something. Using AI to help you answer questions, listening to what the AI says, and then going and kind of Googling around and checking it yourself, that's interesting. Because you actually can learn a lot. I've learned a lot about computer programming. I've learned a lot about, well, how students use AI by using AI. I prefer good old-fashioned memory and intelligence from the natural sources. It's organic, man, but use it to learn as opposed to turn in work. When people turn in AI work, it just gets labeled as incomplete. Now, every so often, somebody will do something on AI that seems really legit, and I will give them credit for it, and they go, yes, I got away with something. I didn't have to learn something. Good job. Okay, but so your grade in this class, and all of my classes, is based on completion of assignments. You have to do the work. Now, if you wait to the last minute to do the work, what happens is A, it puts you under lots of pressure. B, it lowers your need for cognition. It lowers the need to understand things and get things done. And so there are going to be time limits, there's going to be dates, and there's going to be schedules, and those are there to help you and not hurt you. If you do panic and do dump in AI, fix it. You got plenty of time to go back and fix things that are not good. So by understanding this, at the end of the semester, you will understand a lot of material if you embrace it and you ask good questions. Don't just ask simple, basic questions that I could easily get by putting into Google. Ask questions that you really, really wanted to know, where you find some information, especially like on social media. You find some information. Is it good? Is it bad? What does the science have to say about it? Well, I'll use my science brain and the resources that I have to answer the questions the best that you can. Well, best that I can, sorry, not that you can. All right, your grade is based on what you do. And if you do everything, you will learn a lot. And if you learn a lot, you will know a lot. Very exciting. Thank you.